So, Régine, how did you come to music? You play accordion and other keyboards. You were playing the desk a minute ago.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know. I've just always been really intrigued by music and sounds and trying to replicate what I hear and come up with different sounds.
When you say always, would you say at 8 years old you were?
4.
4.
I remember.
Gosh.
Really clearly.
What do you remember? Did your family have music in the house? Or piano?
Like
or
a
anything?
normal, not like Win and Will's family were. You know, it was actually their mom was a musician. Some of the family were musicians. It was pretty like regular. I mean, we had the radio and a couple of records. But I remember when I moved to our house when I was 4, the other neighbors left this like really small, like maybe like 35 inches electric organ, and I had this piece that I heard, and now I know it's Mozart, but at the time I didn't know, you know. It's just and I was just obsessed by it, and I just had to figure it out for some reason, and it's just like something. It always has been something really personal. It's like personal discoveries. I remember I was playing on the keyboard, and I was like, I'm figuring this out. I mean, now I know it's called semitones, but at the time I was like, okay, black note, white note, black note, and I know it goes something like that. And I was just like always trying to learn everything I heard. Like, I would, TV shows, kids' TV shows, I would learn the song and I try to play it. Yeah, it was always...
Do you think it's fate? I mean, somebody leaves something like that and it changes your life? I mean, what do you think of stuff like that?
I really think it would have happened because it wasn't like the chance that the organ was there was really good, but also
it was totally random, right?
Yeah, but it's not because I saw the organ that I had the urge to.
We had the
discover.
urge, and then this thing was there.
Yeah,
really, the two together really magnified it. It's so cool. And Will, you said Régine said your family's musical.
Yeah, my mom's a musician. So
doing what?
She plays the harp and play the piano, mostly jazz, but didn't listen to a lot of music like on records. Is she a jazz
harpist too?
Yeah, she's a jazz harpist.
Or an Alice Coltrane of the two. I know.
A rare breed.
Yeah, indeed.
So we did a lot of that. Not a lot of listening to the radio or oldies or anything, though. Just sort of listen. It was mostly her practicing and things like that.
And your dad also, is that how they met? Were they both?
No, he doesn't even clap on 2 and 4.
Oh.
No, they met in the mountains. That's their thing. They're mountain people.
And mountains of where?
Idaho, actually. But yeah, they met in the West. He's from Maine. She's from LA. They met in Idaho.
Now, Régine, you were saying who is it in the family that plays like Django Reinhardt?
That's my mom's whole family is musicians.
I see.
Her parents is Alvino Ray and Louise King. He ran a big band in the 20s and 30s and 40s. First with the banjo and then with the pedal steel and the electric guitar.
I know this name.
And my grandma was part of this group called the King Sisters, which was a vocal group. And
very cool.
Yeah, so she had that sort of her whole life, and her whole family. They had a variety show on ABC called the King Family Show, which is like the Lawrence Welk show
in the 60s.
Yeah,
totally remember it.
Which is sort of.
I can't say I was a huge fan of it, but I remember it.
No, it was. Yeah. I don't think anyone in the King family was a huge fan of it. It was a little square, but not bad as far as jobs go.
Did your family play together at all? Did you, when you grew up, and your brother?
A little bit. Playing? My mom did a lot of playing for schools. What was it called? Yeah, there's a program called Young Audiences.
Yeah, like trying to bring people into music.
Yeah.
Where was this?
In Texas, just north of Houston. So once, at a certain point, Wynn was taking trumpet in middle school, and I was taking clarinet, and she would sort of drag us along, and with a couple other neighborhood kids, Joey Webb and a few other people. A neighbor girl who played the flute and just sort of made us do embarrassing things in front of our peers.
I wonder sometimes you know, families try to get the kids to play music, and it's not really music that they like, so they don't connect. But I wonder.
They didn't really force us at all. Like, I took piano lessons as a kid, and then I was like, I don't want to take piano lessons anymore. And I was like, okay. Which is, you know, looking back on it, I was like, oh, maybe she should have forced me. Probably be better at piano.
I stopped too. I quit. But I mean, I took, you know, the regular 6-year-old, 7-year-old piano lessons, and I didn't like it. But when I quit, I started playing like 10 times more, because it just became like I don't know, it was just like my own personal thing. It was like I would just like go by myself and just play, and it was like my Nintendo, I guess.
Did you ever turn to become fans of music as much as just players of music? I mean, was there a chunk of your life where you weren't performing and you were upset? I went out last night outside the church, Judson Memorial Church, and stood in the cold interviewing fans of you all who were waiting to hope to get tickets. These were the folks who didn't have tickets yet, and, you know, been there for 4 hours and it was cold outside. Oh, but no, you know what? I saw most of them later cheer up, because most of them got in.
Oh, yay!
And I was wondering if you all were ever big fans of bands as teenagers or
I didn't get to see concerts when I was young, you know. I think my first concert was Radiohead just a few years ago, you know.
Wow.
That was my first thing, and I was like in my 20s, you know. So I just couldn't afford it anyway, so it was not an option.
I mean, I was a fan of the Cure in like high school, but I knew that sort of their glory days were over, so I wasn't particularly fanboy about them. But I was excited about REM. I actually joined the REM fan club at a certain point, and Radiohead, as people in my generation tend to do.
And so what's your relationship as a band member to your fans, having had somewhat of a relationship with bands and being, well, a card-holding member of REM?
I mean, every once in a while, when an opportunity comes up and we're sort of debating whether we should do it or not do it, I'm sort of like, well, when I was 16, would I have been really excited if Radiohead did it? And if the answer is yes, then I'll definitely consider it a lot more. It's like, oh, wait, yeah, that was totally awesome when Radiohead did it. And I wonder if they were even excited at all, but I was really excited, so.
On Thursday night at your show, I think you surprised me, and at the end of the show, walked into the middle of the audience. That seemed to be one of those moments where you want to describe what took place.
Well, we just had finished playing Neon Bible, and the crowd.
We'd been really sick and had a hard couple shows, and it had been a really good crowd. You know, they'd actually sort of given us something. Yeah. So we were in the mood to give something back.
So what happens at that moment? You walk off stage for they're going to do their encore. Everybody knows you're going to do encore. Do you huddle together and say anything? Or?
Well, we just walked into the crowd and started playing Wake Up acoustically right in the middle of the crowd with people basically right in front of us, and around us, and
it was a big circle.
Yeah.
And in the church, clapping the hands and stuff.
It was fun.
It was one of those moments for a fan that if you totally remember it the rest of your life. It was save it for those moments. Don't do it all the time, because then it'll be like an encore.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it
totally.
really was good. I want to talk about the making of the record. The train coming down from Washington, coming up from Washington, took forever, and that turned out really to be good, because I got to hear the record 3 times, and it's a really fantastic record. And I just want to know if you could describe the process of the making of the record. You're not touring anymore. You get your lives together, and then you're going to make another record. So how do you start making this one? How did you start making Neon Bible?
Well, we were already working. Some songs we already had written. I mean, they're not complete, but they were pretty much there. And we were looking for, starting to look for places to record, studios. And then I found this little church that was for sale, like outside of Montreal, and we went to visit it. And right away, it was like, well, let's just make our own studio then. Let's just get this place and make our studio there. And so that's what we did. So it was hard work because, it means that we couldn't just like show up and play. We had to like put the whole thing together and do some renovations.
And so you go into this church and you start to write songs. I have no idea how your songs take shape. So you said some of them you had before. Tell me how a song would take shape. Pick a song and then...
Pick a song. They're all, I don't know,
All right.
They're all really interesting. It's really different and interesting. And the interesting thing is that, I don't know, we rarely like sit down and say, we're gonna write a song now. It's just like...
The music doesn't work that way,
No,
does it?
it just happens, you could be walking somewhere and, or just...
So I don't have song titles in my head well enough. There is a song about a lighthouse. The well.
Yeah.
I said the word well. Sorry, the well and the lighthouse. Right?
Yeah.
So tell me, pick that song because that was the one that came to mind.
That song was based on a fable by Jean de La Fontaine. He's a French writer from the 1600s, and he writes. I mean, probably people know him, but I'll just say he writes fables, and they have a lot of moral and sometimes political statements. But he uses animals, so we could always like translate like the king is the lion, and So it's called The Wolf and the Fox, and it's the story of the fox that sees a piece of cheese down the well, and he lowers himself down. And he realized that it was only the moonlight. And so he's stuck down there. And 2 days pass, and the wolf comes around, and he's like, hey, wolf, look at that. There's this big piece of cheese down there. I just saved a bit for you. Because the moon has turned into a crescent moon.
Yes.
It's like, I just took one piece, but all this is for you. Come down. I saved it for you. And then the wolf comes down. And then it raises the fox back up, and in the end it says you can laugh at the wolf, but everyone falls for what they desire or what they fear. And that was the moral of the story. But so we just like wrote the song around that. And
so who would bring the tale and the idea for that to become a song to the group? I mean,
I know that these stories because they're like classics in French literature, so you know them since you were a kid.
Yeah.
I was just talking about it to Win, and I don't know, we just thought it was kind of an interesting...
Who would be the one to rewrite some of not rewrite the words, but to make the tale his own or her own? Or the together?
Well, Win and I, we worked at it together, yeah.
In this case, it's about silver, right? There's not cheese in this story, right?
Well, yeah, no, it's just inspired by that. It's not exactly.
Yeah, but I can hear where that came from. Now, when you're all together and you're in this church and you're getting songs together, songs written on guitar, Will, or are they written on keyboards or
written on
all sorts of
sort of whatever? Yeah. I mean, The Well and the Lighthouse started on the synth or the piano or something. I mean, that's
synth and drums.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Ocean of Noise, we just got this. Our manager had given us an omnichord for Christmas, which is basically like a digital auto harp.
That's right. You hold down
you
a
push
couple
the
of buttons, you strum it, and then you get
Yeah.
a C chord and whatever.
Yeah.
They're a hoot.
It's a very melancholy sounding instrument. And I think the first 4 chords Wynn played on it were very melancholy. And he remembered them, and then he was just playing them, and then Tim started playing sort of like a Caribbean.
And Tim, just so people. Oh,
Tim from the band, Tim Kingsbury,
Thank you.
the blonde one. People think he's me all the time. He started playing sort of this reggae-esque bass line, and suddenly he was like, "Oh, this is a very sad Caribbean song," and that was sort of the whole. I mean, that was like 90% of the song, in that, just like, oh, sad chords, oh, reggae bass line, oh, I remember this and I want to keep hearing it. Like, oh, there's the song.
Because it must be in a session like these where you spend, how much time did you actually spend after the renovation to start working on music, would you say?
About a year, but maybe
It
a little
wasn't-
less.
It wasn't like super efficient, but it was basically all of 2006. We took lots of breaks, and like as we were mixing and mastering, we were still recording parts. So
Yeah.
like the mixing took a really long time, but it wasn't just mixing because we were doing vocals and arranging the songs still.
Right.
But the breaks were also breaks to like review what we had done, you know, and just.
Because I'd imagine over all that time you'd have a lot of stuff that were pretty good ideas in March that you forgot about, and maybe
Yeah.
that song didn't fully develop, or you probably had more tunes than what shows up on the record.
Yeah,
Would be my guess.
No, and we wanted the album to come out sort of as soon as possible. And so at a certain point we were like, oh no, it's going to be 2.5 years. Like, all right, let's
Yeah.
cut this. Like, this is a really good song, but let's not think about it for now. This is a really good song, but let's just save it because we've got a bunch of really good songs. So let's finish these up.
Do you have a feeling about, if you were to synopsize what this record is, what it's trying to say? My first impression was that they were sort of less about the personal politics and more about the bigger picture, more about the God and bigger politics. But maybe, you know, that's on 3 listenings, and maybe it's my frame of mind. But for you guys, what does it mean? You spend a lot of time with this.
Well, yeah, it's partly true. I think they still have really personal links. At least for me, it's just like it's important to always talk about something that you know really well. I mean, it has to come from something that you actually know, you know. And, yeah.
Well, for instance, like Keep the Car Running has its sort of root in Wynn having terrifying dreams that people are coming to get him and he has to escape to the West Coast, which actually I think a lot of people have, not necessarily the West Coast, but kind of escape to the coast. Like Children of Men, say it's that movie, basically. But anyway, so it's sort of like about this dream that he keeps having, which is very personal. And then we play it for a friend, and we're like, oh, it's about terrorism, right? You're like, oh no, it is. What have we done? You know, it's just like, so it's sort of hard to say where the line is drawn.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, and I think in the end it's probably good. You put things out there, and then it's really sort of out of your control what people think they're about, and that's sort of the cool thing about the kinds of words and the way you tell stories in song. That's a good thing about what you do, because it is a bit oblique, and it's intentionally oblique. I mean, you know.
We're not trying. I mean, we do print the lyrics in the booklets. We're not trying to be obscure, but yeah, definitely oblique.
Yeah.
Not trying to be like, you know, I hate you, Mom. I hate you, Dad. You know, like, oh, that song is about hating your mom and dad. You know, trying to do something.
Yeah. Thursday night when I saw you, and it was my first time seeing you all live. I've seen videos. Well, you're a maniac. And it is really fun to watch you. And you're pretty insane yourself on stage. Would you describe, Régine, would you just describe a typical Will performance? Let's start with Will.
Well, Régine, I mean, the first thing that pops to mind is like the song Haiti, where Régine's obviously like the one in the spotlight. And I think I think it's a pretty personal song with some, you know, some really intense lyrics about, you know, her family and her ancestral homeland. And she's just sort of, I don't know, because it's sort of a dark song, but she also brings a lot of joy to it and a lot of hope. And I think the audience gets really excited because suddenly she's dancing and moving and sort of reacting to the music like a robot that's suddenly found free will or something. You know, it's like, oh, I'm a very, you know, because everyone dances the robot, but it's not the robot. It's like, you know, the joyful robot.
A freer spirit.
Yeah.
And all right.
I don't know. I like having Will on stage because, I don't know, I just turn around and he's like climbing on some scaffoldings or
the church wall last night, I think. I think I saw that.
It's just like...
And the megaphone, well, no, your description.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, you'll see him doing... I don't know, he gets really inspired by the songs, and it's nice because, you know, that he has... Sometimes on some songs he has free hands. He's free, so he can do... While we're stuck, we have to... Like, we can't leave our instruments. Right. He, like, can run around, and he'll do the sometimes craziest things and sometimes really beautiful. Like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. He'll, like, tape people up together, rip paper.
So the one moment last night that made me think of you as wonderfully manic was you're playing the xylophone, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know, you're not your hands aren't 4 or 8 inches from the keys with the little hammers. They're way up in the air and coming way down and striking and in this beautiful rhythm. And then I saw you take the megaphone. You're on the keyboard machine,
yeah.
And Will takes the megaphone and starts, you know, shouting
Right.
or whatever I don't know if it was a siren or whatever was happening toward you, and you then react back to him, and there's so much life that's going on and adding so much to the songs, not just visually, and it's not a shtick, you know, it really just feels like you're playing so much the better for the fact that that Will is standing next to you.
Yeah, I mean, to me it's always driven by the lyrics of the song. That's what inspires me to do whatever I do. Like, if I decide to move or not move or scream, you know, it's only because I'm thinking about what I'm saying, you know, and mm-hmm. It's not just like Broadway, like, because that's what I'm supposed to do here, you know. It's just, yeah.
And it feels good, I imagine, to play different songs now, yeah?
Yeah.
Feels really good.
It's exciting.
You getting comfortable with them yet?
Yeah.
Get in there.
Yeah.
I mean, these last show, we played 5 nights in London, 5 nights in Montreal, and we're about to finish up 5 nights in New York, and
they're challenging songs to play live, you know, because it's not like you have a backing track and all this pre-recorded stuff. It's just like, you know, 2 violins, a hurdy-gurdy, you know, French horns. You have to mix that together and make something out of it. It's
definitely. I mean, I keep forgetting that it's like we plan them as warm-up shows, and then we arrived in London, and there were, like, you know, people in line and people shouting, and we were doing interviews with people, and like, oh yeah, I guess these are more than just warm-ups, but it is definitely trying to get a grasp on the new songs and which is good. It's sort of like old times.
And you've picked spaces. You picked a cafeteria, a church. You are a sound engineer's nightmare. And I watched Sharon last night. She's the sound engineer, working hard, because it's a space with a lot of it's a big, it's a church, for goodness sake, and no one stays on their instrument for too long. Wow. I feel for them.
Yeah, it's been crazy for her. I mean, like, on the funeral tour, she started with us in rooms of like 100 people, and then at the end of the year we were playing huge outdoor festivals
and 20,000 people,
and like a different board every night, and, you know, different monitors, and it's just like, oh yeah, it takes a lot of determination to not just be like, all right guys,
just stick to one. Just stick to one.
It's been great, but just why don't you just play the guitar all the time and keep it at this volume, please? Just keep it at the same volume.
And so now you've thrown this other thing in the loop. What do you get out of as a band for playing a space that's not a club?
A lot of clubs I don't find very inspiring environments, you know. It's sometimes just almost more about beer than the actual show.
Yeah, I mean, when you play like 6 or 8 months in bars, you start to realize that, there's a lot of distraction in a bar, mm-hmm. and it's nice to have a little less distraction when you're, not that it should, you know, it's not a classical symphony or anything.
No,
you shouldn't be like sitting down and attentive and, you know, hearing the breath of the clarinetist necessarily, but you should at least be able to focus on the music a little bit and sort of communicate with that instead of, I don't know, there's a lot of distractions other places.
Yeah.
You want to describe the church just a tiny bit for folks who
Judson.
won't see it or will be hearing the show at Judson tonight?
Oh, Judson?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful church with light blue walls and beige rims and Roman style stained glass that's really big.
And the one over your heads.
There's a big circle, the rosace on top of the stage.
You walk in from the back of the room and the stage is in front of you, and there's a big arch, and at the top of the arch is this round piece of stained glass.
Yeah.
Is that the lion? Is there a lion in there? I always forget.
There's sort of cross, but not the even cross. It's just like like an X, but turns.
Yeah.
And then
plus sign.
And then you've all placed below that beautiful bit of glass.
Oh, our neon Bible.
So you see the stained glass, and then you see this big neon. It's an open book. It's the Bible that animates step by step in colors of what, red and white. I don't.
Red, white, and blue.
Red rim.
Is that true?
Yeah,
I didn't remember that. Well,
don't read too much into that.
Yeah.
Tell me all the members of the band and what they play. If you can do that, I don't even know if you can do that.
Okay.
For us.
Well,
who are we going to hear tonight?
You're gonna hear Richard Reed Perry. He's a very good bass player, but we always make him play guitar because he comes up with these crazy guitar parts that are totally out of left field. Yeah. And Sarah Neufeld that plays violin. America Anthony Shaw plays viola. Pietro Amato plays... Pietro Salvatore Amato. I think that's a great name. Anyway, he plays French horn. And Colin Stetson.
Colin Stetson plays French horn and bass clarinet and trumpet.
Yeah. Jeremy Guerra plays drums and sometimes keyboard and guitar. And Tim plays guitar. Tim Kingsbury plays guitar, bass, piano. Amen. Everyone plays a lot of stuff. I mean, this is a long list. You want the entire list?
I want the entire list.
Okay.
I want to know everybody.
Okay, all right. And who am I missing?
Edwin Butler. Edwin Farnham Butler
the third. Who sings, plays guitar, bass, piano, keyboard, and William Pierce Butler, who plays xylophone, synth, Moog Taurus, percussions,
I don't know, man.
Random things.
Not the drums, though. And then there's Régine, Alexandra Chassagne, who starts out most nights on the hurdy-gurdy and then moves to lead vocals, to the bells, to the drum kit, to the piano, to the old synthesizer, to the accordion.
Yeah.
Everything under the sun.
and you're all moving around, and even at times up in the balconies we found the horn section.
Yeah.
That was really fun. So thanks for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing and hearing it one more time tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.